few months ago I decided to start a new series of videos on this channel that would involve some fun experiments. I emptied one of my 20-liter tanks and bought another one with the same dimensions. We also got matching equipment, and this was the start of the Twinscape series. I asked you guys what kind of experiments we should do, and the response was amazing. CO2 versus no CO2 got the most votes by far, so our first experiment was decided. The results were not really surprising, but overall it was still a very fun and educating experience. It's now time to prepare our second experiment, AQUASOIL versus dirt, but before we can do that we first have to take down the current scapes. They have been running for 70 days now and have grown in really well. The plants are super healthy, so we can definitely use them again. The only inhabitants in these two aquariums are some cherry shrimp and a mano shrimp, and they will temporarily go to some of my other aquariums until the new experiment is ready and cycled. The substrate from this aquarium is still very fresh. I don't have a purpose for it right now, but I'll save it and keep it for a base layer in a future setup. So I'm working here emptying the first experiment tank, and I'm catching the shrimp, and the first 5 cherry shrimp that I caught are all pregnant. They're all full of babies. Look at it. It's absolutely crazy. Imagine if I would have waited a bit longer with taking these tanks down and all these females had released their babies. That would be a nightmare to catch all these baby shrimp. Alright, we're all ready to get started with our second experiment in this Twinscape series. And a lot of you guys asked for this, and I have to say I'm super excited about this one as well. The previous experiment, CO2 versus no CO2. I mean, with that experiment it was kind of obvious what was going to happen. It was quite obvious that the tank with CO2 would have much better results. With this one, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. So for this Twinscape experiment we're going to be testing out 2 very different kinds of substrate. So on the right side we have the stuff that you guys probably already know. This is Neosoil from Aquario. I used this in the previous experiment as well, and I absolutely love this stuff. I think this is currently the best Aquasoil that's on the market right now. This stuff is so full of nutrients. Like during the first experiment I didn't even use any liquid fertilizers and the plants grew absolutely amazing. But this stuff is expensive. This is an 8-liter bag and this costs 35 euros. So I'll put on the screen how much that is in dollars. So we're going to be using a very cheap competitor. Now in the previous video I asked you guys what should we use for this dirted tank, and you guys said that I should use pond soil. I've watched the video from Mr. MD Fish Tanks, absolutely love his channel, and he recently did a setup with pond soil as well. So that's the stuff that I went looking for. So I went to my local garden center and I found this bag right here. This is actually water lily soil. Now this is all very new to me. I've never used any sort of dirt in an aquarium before, so I'm a little bit nervous about this experiment as well. But yeah, we have here water lily soil, some sort of dirt that is designed to grow water lilies. I mean, and if it can grow water lilies, then I'm sure it should be able to grow aquatic plants as well. But the best thing about this stuff is that it's super cheap. So this is a 10-liter bag and I had to pay 10 euros for this. But of course we only need like a very small amount, so in comparing to the Aquario soil, this is going to be very cheap. Now of course we cannot use only this product, we need to cap it with something. So for that I got this stuff right here. This is nano shrimp gravel, black, 0.7 to 1.2 millimeters, so very small. I didn't want to go with sand because this is a Twinscape. I want to still keep both scapes exactly the same. So we have black AQUASOIL, then we need to have a black top layer as well. So no sand, nano shrimp gravel. And before we get started I want to open this bag, check the consistency, see what we're dealing with, see if this stuff is ready to be used straight out of the bag or do we need to do something to it. I've seen some people sifting their dirt or drying it in the oven. So let's open the bag and let's see what we're dealing with. Okay, perfect, that's exactly what I was looking for. Very small consistency, maybe a few chunks in there, but we can easily take that out. So yeah, let's start adding a layer to this aquarium and let's get started on my first dirted tank. I honestly have no idea how much of this pond soil I should add, so I'm just going with a nice layer, not too much, not too little, and let's just hope it's okay. such a typical guy thing to first use the product and then afterwards read the instructions. But I was kind of curious to see if there would be some sort of nutritious value. It says here, water lily soil contains all components for healthy growth, prevents choking of plant roots, contains 30% blue loam. So that's I never heard of. It translates in Dutch to blue clay. I've also never heard of blue clay before, but I guess it's a thing and I guess it's good for plants. I spent a few minutes spraying the soil with water. This is again something I saw during my research, and I think this is to help prevent the soil from floating after we cap it with our gravel. So that is the first substrate layer done. I used one bag of that black shrimp gravel and then a little bit more because I want to have a nice thick layer over that pond soil to make sure that nothing is leaking out of that. And then next up we start with the aqua soil. Now I'm using roughly 2 to 3 kilos of aqua soil in this aquarium. Remember, it's only a small tank. And in these bags of aqua soil, you always have some packs of root tabs. Now we're not going to use these root tabs because that won't be fair towards the pond soil, so just strictly aqua soil. Okay, that's our substrate layers done. Aqua soil and pond soil with shrimp gravel. Okay, so next up we're going to start working on the hardscape. I'll be using the exact same hardscape as before, so we're going to use some black spider wood and some cereal rocks. This time we're going to go for a bit more of an island style layout. Previously we had a triangular style layout. Now I want to go for an island style, see if we can make something nice. Okay, that's the first hardscape done. Very simple, but I think it looks nice. So we have sort of like an island style composition. We'll have some nice tall stems in the middle there, nice carpet in front, some epiphytes here on the rocks and the wood. I'll be using the exact same plants as before, maybe a few new additions as well. But now let's see if we can make something similar in the aqua soil tank. Okay, that's both hardscapes done. Do they look identical? I don't think so. But who cares? As long as they look good, that's the most important thing. So this one I really like that V shape that we have in the middle. And this one is a bit more wild, a bit more all over the place. So yeah, I think they both have something nice. Let the mayonnaise jokes commence. But yesterday I took down both of those aquascapes and I saved all the plants in here. So we need to sort this out. Make sure it's all good for planting, so we need to split up the carpet into small portions. Yeah, I'll have a fun job sorting this out. After I was done sorting out the plants, I realized that I forgot to glue the hardscape. Now these pieces of wood, they were already used before in the previous experiment as well, so they were already sinking, but I just want to make sure we glue them anyway and make sure we have a solid structure of hardscape and nothing can collapse when we're doing maintenance or trimming or whatever. We have so many plants to work with. So this is literally everything came out of the previous scapes except for the Hygrophila zostrifolia. I'm not going to use that one in this scape this time. It's a crazy fast growing plant and I don't think it will really fit in this island style layout. So we have Marsilea hirsuta, Monte Carlo, weeping moss, Hygrophila Araguaia. This is Micranthemum umbrosum, Ludwigia glandulosa and Rotala orange juice. I'll put all the names on the screen as I'm planting them. And maybe later I still have some Phyllanthus that I would like to use in this scape as well. So we might later add some boost as well. So let's start planting. Okay, this is starting to look really good already. We're not done yet. So in the background we have here in the middle this patch of Rotala orange juice, and then on either side we have the Micranthemum umbrosum. So my idea is that once it starts growing, then in the middle we have this big red patch of the Rotala, and then with the Micranthemum we can really trim it nicely into like a round shape. I think that will look really good. So next step is to plant the moss here around the wood and the rocks, and those the Phyllanthus that I was talking about. Excuse the mess here, but just want to show you the 10-liter cube. This one has kind of been baptized into a plant storage tank for all the Phyllanthus. So we have some really nice boost in here, and I think they will make a perfect addition to the twinscape. There's just something about the combination of Phyllanthus and moss. This looks so good. I really love that the weeping moss. So green and vibrant. So that's the planting done for the AQUASOIL tank. Really happy with the end result. So now we do exactly the same with our dirted tank. So we still have a lot of plants left. I'm gonna make sure that both tanks get somewhat an equal amount of plants. So we're off to a fair start. Okay, here we go. Planting complete. Now they look a little bit more like twins, right? Especially with that red and green in there. So yeah, next step is to put these two tanks back on the shelf, fill them up with water, attach the CO2 system, and then yeah, see what's gonna happen in the next few weeks. Watch our experiment unfold. I'm really curious what's going to happen. I have to show you this as well, by the way, because this is really funny. So yesterday I took those old scapes down, and of course I want to keep the filter running, keep those bacteria alive, because that's really going to help us jumpstart the next experiment. So I put the filters on the big shallow. I think that looks so funny. So now we have 3 filters running on the big shallow. Yeah, you can never have enough filtration, right? Okay, fast forward. It's now been 3 days since we set up both of these tanks, and so far they're doing really good. Here we have the dirty tank. Water is absolutely crystal clear. I'm doing daily water changes. That's necessary for the AQUASOIL tank because it's releasing a lot of nutrients. I'm not sure if it would be necessary for a dirty tank as well, but I'm just doing it anyway just to make sure we keep things equal. So daily water changes. I'm keeping the lights on for 8 hours right now, and the intensity is still at 60%. It looks a little bit bright on camera, but it's actually a little bit more dim. So I'm thinking like after 1 week I'll increase the intensity by maybe 5 or 10% and just slowly bump it up. I think it's a bit too soon to see any plant growth, although that right there looks like a new leaf from the Marsilea already, so that's good news. I did also add some floating plants to the aquarium just to help soak up some of those excess nutrients. Let's take a look at the AQUASOIL tank. If you see them side by side, you might notice that the tank on the right, the AQUASOIL tank, actually has a bit of a green tint to the water. I'm not sure what that is, but it's definitely coming from the AQUASOIL. Every time I'm using the AquaRio Neo Soil, I have this green tint in the very beginning. So yeah, it's good to do these daily water changes to get rid of that as well. I also just did a water test for both tanks for ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. Both tanks have 0 ammonia. The AQUASOIL tank has a little bit of nitrite and very high nitrates. Well, that was to be expected with the AQUASOIL, but the dirty tank has no nitrites and just a little bit of nitrates. Okay, so the battle of the substrate starts now. Super excited about this experiment. I have no idea what's going to happen. I do think that the AQUASOIL tank will get a head start because there's so many nutrients being released into the water column. But once the dirty tank, once those plants find those roots into that dirt, then I think that's definitely going to take off as well. So guys, let me know in the comments who you voting for, and also let me know if you want me to pay attention to anything specific. If you want me to monitor anything, then let me know. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll see you next time. Take care.